Hi, all. I've been a little silent this week in regards to what happened to George Floyd and also the Amy Cooper incident. Um, my silence by no means means that I am okay with it. My silence truly means I've been thinking a lot about it and struggling with the realities of our world. Being someone who tries to be fairly positive in most of what I do in life and look at things in a positive manner. It's really gets you at the core when you can't. And basically, I just there's been way too many innocent black men killed, um, and there there's no reason for the way Amy Cooper acted. The other day. I hadn't heard about it, and a friend reached out and said something, and I started looking it up, and I was like, what in the world? Why would anyone think that's okay? So I'm here mainly to talk to my white friends, my friends who are of color. You have lived and breathed the experience of being scared when you go outside, being scared for your sons, being scared for your daughters, recognizing that the world does look at you differently. And so, this is a message for my white friends. Um, First, if you ever say you don't see color, then you are denying someone their identity because that is part of who they are. It is, um, there's stories, there's history, there's culture, there's life, everything behind that. So our skin tone, our skin color, it it's powerful and it's meaningful, and stop denying it. It's there. My husband is black, and I don't deny his skin color. Like, I love him for being him. I love him for his history, for his background, for everything that he does for me, for the things that we do together. Um, like it's part of who he is, and so we have lots of open conversations about our biracial relationship, and that's really important. So first, I just want to say that don't say you don't see color. And in fact, when you start doing self work, which is number two, make sure you're doing self work. Um, I come from a community that was majority white and did not grow up thinking much about diversity. I was told to love all. I was told, you should be nice to everybody. I had a great upbringing in the way that I was taught on how to treat people in a humane way and humanity. But I didn't have a lot of that. I didn't have a lot of diversity in my life besides socioeconomic diversity. Um, and so when I think about ethnic diversity, racial diversity, even religious diversity, sexual orientation diversity, like I didn't have a lot of that growing up. So I've had to do a lot of self work, and so self work is key. Start somewhere. I would read Dolly Chug's book, The Person You Mean to Be. I think that's a really, in my eyes, that's a good entry point into the work, and also thinking about how do you move from being an ally to being to being a co-conspirator, to being someone who is taking action and not just standing by when you hear someone say something. So yeah, so two is do your own self work, understand your whiteness, understand um, like what it means to be white, what is your culture as a person who is white, um, and go from there. Number three, learn about history. Yes. My mind, when I've gone through Undoing Racism and racial equity training, and both are very similar. But oh my gosh, the history that I had no clue about was just interesting, which has really made me think through our perspective of whitewash curriculum and how we really need to think about the history that we're telling, and that we're telling everything from a variety of perspectives, not just one person's perspective. That's another story, another time. So that self work is important. Now learning about our history, do some research. Stamped from the Beginning would be a great book to get. And actually, I'm gonna go. I think I have it here. I'm gonna go grab it really quickly. So yes, I did leave. Hopefully, you didn't see my mess behind me. Stamped from the Beginning, Ibram X. Kendi, amazing. I've only looked through parts of it, but it's definitely on my list. After having all the history lessons and then needing just to read and like let it sink in. I also recommend, if you have a chance to do implicit bias training, that is just the surface level. But understanding we all have bias is truly important. And then just understanding the history. So one, stop saying you don't see color. Two, do self work, understanding who you are. Three, learn about history and what's going on. And then four is finally just speak up. Say something, do something. You see something wrong. When family members say something back. It's not always comfortable. I know I have definitely been guilty where I've not said something. Perfect example, and this isn't with a family member, but with friends. We were out at a restaurant, and I paid for my meal. I had CID on the back of my card. I wasn't asked to see my ID. My friend, who was a black woman next to me, paid, and they asked to see her ID. I cringed inside. I was mad. I was upset, but I didn't say anything. And now I know I would. I would say, I would just simply ask, you didn't ask me to see my ID. Why is that? And I think it's important that we point these things out, because that, whether it's implicit bias or it's being intentionally racist, it doesn't matter which, it's wrong. And we have to recognize that those things happen because our system is built on racism. That goes back to the history lesson. So do the work you need to do, because in order to stop the violence, in order to stop what happened to Ahmaud, in order to stop what happened to George, in order to stop what happened to Sean Reed, we got to do the work. We got to help. I used to think I'm just one person. Guess what? I am just one person, but I'm one person that can bind together with many and do something. And so your do something can be as small as saying it's not right. This needs to stop. Your do something can be advocacy, really working towards writing to legislators. Your do something can be saying something when you see it happen. Your do something can be being there for your friends of color and understanding where they're at. And then when things happen that shouldn't happen, say something. How we deal with those microaggressions, how we deal with life. It's important. So this week I've been silent, and I know that for some of my friends of color, I'm going to say sorry that I've been silent this week. And my silence, though, is not because I don't care or I don't love or I don't want to help. My silence comes from being upset, being mad, being angry, and literally trying to think through like what can I do and what will I do. And so that's where my silence came from, and has led to me just wanting to share with my friends, especially my white friends, what you need to do. And I will say that, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I wasn't comfortable saying white, which is so weird and so odd. But again, once you start seeing color, you start understanding the world better. Okay, do some self work. And if you've done that self work already, keep it up and make sure you say something. Thanks all. Talk to you later.